Hello, I'm PS3 and welcome back to the video. So have you noticed how Minecraft on the PC is constantly adding brand new features to the game that feels a lot like existing ones? You know, the World of Color update is really just lots of recolors of existing stuff, and it made me realize lots of things that exist in Minecraft today, even though they feel like entirely different items, are actually quite similar, and I figured why not go through 5 of my favorite examples of just items which are basically the same in today's video. That's exactly what I'm doing. Hopefully you all do enjoy it. A reminder, you can like the video if you do, because it helps out the channel, and let's know you do want to see more stuff like this, and indeed more top 5. But with that said, let's just get straight into the 5th most similar pair of items in Minecraft, which is actually the ones to the far right of my hotbar. That's right, these two very similar items right here feel like they're entirely different, because yeah, snow and carpet, you don't think, oh yeah, these things are so similar, like, you know, in the real world, they're definitely not, right? But in Minecraft, they have a lot of similarities, and the first, and perhaps the most obvious one, is actually the textures and the appearance they have in general. If you look at them, they're both white blocks that take up a very small part of the block. Here you can see the snow even has a very similar pattern to the, you know, the white carpet. They have like 3 different tones of, you know, white / grey each, and that basically means that they have a very similar appearance on the top. You know, the only way you can really tell is because this has more of a, you know, kind of this is less of a smooth texture, this is more of a woolly texture, but besides that, you can't really tell too much of the difference besides that, and maybe their height. However, the actual functionality of the block is basically the same too. Bear in mind, even though this is 1/8 of a block tall, and this is 1/16 of a block tall, the way they function on the character is exactly the same. You walk directly through them, but they do not raise you up at all. They don't really exist, they're just kind of decorative blocks for the floor. So, yeah, as well as being similar in this particular regard, they basically, again, I feel like this is the biggest part, like, they are white blocks that can be used to decorate your floor, to cover your floor in something, and to make it something like that, but the key differences between them are basically ones that most people never notice anyway. So yeah, the biggest differences that I can notice are the fact that white carpet, not only does it only work once, whereas snow, we can put like 3 or 4 bits on the same block, but white carpet will actually, you know, just place directly on top of itself. It takes up the full block basically, whereas the snow will just slowly, gradually, more and more take up more and more of the block, which is something, and then, again, that's kind of interesting by itself. But also the thing about carpet and snow, which I found to be very, very intriguing as I was playing around with them, is, again, this is something that, you know, you can probably figure if you work it out, but it's something that's still very weird to see. If you place a carpet inside a banner or on some stairs or something like that, the carpet will usually take, so you have to like kind of do it from above, but the carpet will actually take, and you can place carpet in the middle of a banner if you want to, but if you try and do the exact same thing using the snow, it will only work on the side. There's no way to place snow on top of a banner, because again, there is already a block there. However, carpet can kind of work in interesting ways where it's on top of the block, but then still inside it in some weird way. I know, it's weird stuff where a carpet can technically float in some weird ways that snow cannot, because of the thing I mentioned earlier. But as well as that, there's the fact that if you try and place it on half slabs or on stairs or anything like that, carpet will work just fine, because carpet's just kind of sitting on the top half of the block, but for some reason, snow does not. Snow does not work on any weird technical blocks. Snow is just a floor block, whereas carpet is more for other places. So yeah, they're 2 blocks that are functionally the same, and that's why they're the 5th most similar items. They're very, very, you know, massively similar, and the only things that separate them is that they, you know, they look, you know, a little bit different, and they have slightly different functionalities, but really, they're decorative white blocks for your floor that are pretty darn similar in that way. So what are the 4th most similar pairs of items in Minecraft? I think it's going to have to be the ladders and the vines. And the funny thing about these items is if you go to the what's this, it's a thing you can do on the console, where the game will tell you what it is. So ladder is used to climb vertically, but the funny thing about the vines is, although it's not the exact same description, it does just say can be climbed like a ladder. It literally compares themselves to the ladder in there, and honestly, the vine, you know, in terms of the game, really is just like a natural ladder. They feel very different when you're climbing up them, like, oh yeah, this is totally different to climbing up some ladders, right? But the truth is, they're basically the same item in every single way you can functionally think of, besides the fact that the vine will grow, you know, both naturally and just in general. I only place vines like alongside where the ladders are, but they grew downwards into these weird L's, but as well as the fact that the vines will grow in this slightly weird way over time, there's also the fact that you can't jump on vines. This is something I'm still not entirely sure why or how they put it in the game, but I can jump on top of this ladder just fine, but while I'm on top of the vines, I can't jump, because you're kind of like automatically jumping, like I'm moving up and down against the wall. So even though it's the exact same height, and it's the exact same function in every real way, ladders are a tiny bit better than vines, and vines you know, just appear a tiny bit easier than ladders, which is really weird that they decided to add something like that to the game. And in fact, I reckon if they'd had vines in the game first, they would have never added ladders. You'd never think like, oh yeah, we've got vines already, let's add ladders instead. Instead, it was more of a thing where like, oh yeah, we have ladders, but we kind of want, you know, naturally generating, you know, stuff like that, so let's just make it work. And that's one of the most fascinating things about some of these items, in my opinion, is the fact that the only reason we got both is because one came before the other, and I think the ladder is the prime example of something we only really got because we didn't have vines at the time. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to the 3rd most similar pairs of items, and this next one is actually, you know, to do with the lighting, because I'm sure you both know the, you know, the jack-o'-lantern and the glowstone. Most people choose to use glowstone, but every now and then someone used to use jack-o'-lanterns, and the thing is, you know, about these 2 items is they're 2 of the very rare items in the game to have the exact same light level. And this light level is the highest level you can get. It's both 15. So just to make sure you can all see this, both of these light sources, I guess, are exactly the same in terms of how much they light up. I'm sure you can all see that on screen right now. They take up the exact same number of blocks. They meet in the exact same middle because their light source value is 15. Again, the highest you can get in the game. But the funny thing about them is the fact that if you read both their descriptions, it's exactly the same. So what's this? It's used to create brighter light than torches, melt snow and ice, and can be used underwater. And what's the jack-o'-lanterns? Oh, it literally just changes the name at the top. It's the exact same thing, but just for a different name. And that's because they are functionally the exact same block. It's just one you can get from the overworld if you have a bunch of pumpkins, and one you have to go to the nether for, but the actual functions of them, basically the same. The only thing I will say is that glowstone is objectively the tiniest bit better because of the fact that you can obviously place it on top of a wall, but you can't place, jack-o'-lanterns on the side of something, only on top of something else. So you have to, like, remove the block below it to make them float in the air. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know why you have to place them on top of something, even though you can remove the block below them. It's just one of those weird things about jack-o'-lanterns that is the case. However, the contrary point of that is the fact that glowstone, when you break it, you don't get a glowstone back, you get glowstone dust, whereas jack-o'-lanterns, you of course get the jack-o'-lantern, which is, I think, a little bit better. So yeah, also you can't place jack-o'-lanterns on glowstone, because, weird rules are just like that. But yeah, jack-o'-lanterns, they're slightly more awkward to place, but you get them back. Glowstone, it's slightly less awkward to place, but you don't get it back. And besides that, they're the exact same block with just a very slightly different texture, but even then, it's a light source. You don't really care about what it looks like too much. Maybe this is more spooky, maybe that's just more inviting. I don't know for certain, but it's just one of those weird pairs of items where really did we need two separate ones? But you might think, like, okay, so we've got two items which are literally the same by description. How can you get more similar than that to get? And honestly, these next two items are ones that you might have even figured, when you read the title, because it is the fire charge and the flint and steel. This is something I was actually wondering for my recent, 10,000 TNT challenge. Went pretty poorly, by the way. Don't try and beat the game with just TNT. But yeah, basically, the flint and steel and the fire charge are actually astoundingly similar items. So if you're curious as to what I mean by that, they both light fires. And also the other thing about them is you can stack fire charges up to 64, and the flint and steel has 62 durability. So a stack of fire charges is a little bit better than a flint and steel, but besides that, it's the exact same thing. And even then, it's only by 2 durability. The only thing that's different is the fire charge can be crafted from the nether. So that's most of the reason I think why they put fire charges into the game. So when you're in the nether, you can still light your portals to get home, but otherwise they're the literal same block. We're both lighting fire. We're lighting fires both times. It's doing the exact same thing. There's no difference between these fires. It's not like, oh yeah, fire charges, they light shorter fires. And in fact, the only difference between them, in any real way besides like, oh yeah, I guess there's this tiny difference between what a stack of each of them does. The only difference really in any serious way is the fact that if you do place, fire charges in a dispenser, it's going to launch them out and create fireballs. Whereas if you play flint and steel on there, then all you're going to get is fire. So that's the only difference when they're used in one very other specific item. Otherwise, the only thing that, separates them is how they're crafted. And, that's not really a difference at all. That's just saying, oh yeah, well, this thing's easier, so we use this. Fire charges are still a thing that people can use, but nobody does because we have the flint and steel. And like I said, it's one of those things, it's almost like the reverse situation. If we had fire charges and a way to craft them in the overworld, we would have never made the flint and steel. It's one of those situations where they invented an item later that was better than one we had already, but they didn't want to remove it because people had it in their worlds. So instead we have this weird, kind of redundant item, if I'm being entirely honest. And with that said, let me move on to the next and final, pair of redundant items, because they're basically the same thing. And these are two which, they claim to be different. You'd figure they're quite different, but in zero functional ways are they different. And in fact, they're even crafted from the same base thing. Can you guess what it is? You probably can't actually, because it is the splash water bottle and the lingering water bottle. So bear in mind, regular water bottles have a use, because even though drinking the water itself, do you really need the fire that badly? It's not that useful, right? Even though normal water bottles have some use because they turn into potions, both of these things do not turn into potions as best as I can tell, and when you do use them, they do nothing else. So it says using a brewing stand to create potions. Again, I haven't been able to make potions from them. Maybe I'm missing something and I'm just being an idiot, but even if, that is the case, as the base form themselves, they do literally the same thing. And if you're curious what I mean by that, here's me throwing a splash water bottle. As you can see, you get a splash of water, and here's the lingering water bottle. So you might think, oh, it's going to make the water linger, but actually, no, you get a splash of water. It's literally the exact same effect that happens when you throw them. The functionality of them is actually exactly the same, because they're both exactly useless. And honestly, these two items are so absurdly similar. The only thing that separates them is their name, which is, again, just a technicality, this says lingering instead of splash, and also their model. But even then, their model, if you look, it's astoundingly similar. It's just this slightly different top that makes no difference to the items themselves. They're so similar that honestly, either item doesn't need to exist, but if you removed one tomorrow, tomorrow, I think it would take people like 3 or 4 days, and they'd be like, wait a minute, I was trying to play around the most useless item and then it wasn't there. And that's in a game like Minecraft where there is like, thousands of people playing. I think, like they probably could remove them and just say, oh yeah, we didn't really want them, and people would be like, oh yeah, that's fine, I don't really want them either. And that's the thing about, should not have jumped into the lava. That's the thing about Minecraft that I find to be, about these items, sorry, that I find to be a little bit astounding. So that's some fun little trivia as to what you can do with them if you're like, okay, so they're useless items that are basically the same as each other. What are they really useful for? Well, you can throw them through lava and it will set them on fire. So have you ever wanted to fire water at someone that's actually on fire? You can do that way, and actually that's about all the uses I can come up with them. They're useless items that are just, they're interesting because they're exactly the same, but that doesn't mean you'd ever want to use them. In case you're curious, by the way, neither of them actually put out fire. You might be like, aha, that's their clever use. But no, if you're on fire and you're like, okay, let's do this. Nope, it doesn't put you out. Neither of them do. They're just random things that you can throw and achieve nothing with, and that's why they're exactly the same items. And in fact, the most similar items in Minecraft, in my opinion, if not, for anything else, then just for their usefulness. So I'm going to drown because of my lack of water. Well, oh no, I guess it would be burnt stuff. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy this video, going over the most useless items. I hope you learned something about something. Oh, there's a dispenser. If you did all enjoy the video, like it if you did, because it helps out the channel a lot, and let us know you do like these sorts of videos. Share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here. It's been a while since I've done one of these style videos in my, big creative world. So yeah, again, say some stuff in the comments if you want to see more stuff like this, because I'm always, kind of curious if I should bring this sort of stuff back. But yeah, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and TU31 apparently, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.